Hello, it's good to be with all of you today. I will be helping you understand the purpose of and prepare for a CED monitoring visit. Welcome to our presentation on what to expect during a CED monitoring visit. My name is Purna Patel and I'm with Vignetic. We are contracted by the Office of Community Services as monitors to perform the CED on-site or virtual monitoring visits. The Vignetic team consists of 2 monitors, Jia Dong and Pamela Foster. We have provided each monitor's contact information at the end of the presentation. Collectively, our team has 30 years of experience in the field of community economic development. The Community Economic Development Program, referred to as CED, is housed in the Division of Community Discretionary and Demonstration Programs, which is a part of the Office of Community Services under the Administration for Children and Families within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Each year, OCS conducts nationwide on-site monitoring visits for selected grantees. These visits are conducted by Vignetic on behalf of OCS to assess the programmatic and financial health of grantees. The visit is part of OCS's ongoing efforts to ascertain methods by which we can constructively assist in the facilitation of project implementation, increase community impact for individuals with low income, and ensure successful job creation and sustainable community outcomes. Additionally, monitors assess if the federal regulations are being followed. OCS has determined that taking this approach increases the likelihood of long-term viability and successes for projects. In this presentation, we will cover the topics listed on this slide to help everyone become more familiar with the site visit process and what to expect. We will discuss the key federal positions that are important in the on-site monitoring process, the purpose of the CED monitoring visit, how to prepare for the CED monitoring visit, how are grantees selected to be visited, pre-site visit timelines and activities, what to expect during the visit, what happens post the monitoring visit and timelines, and lastly, common concerns and best practices of these visits. Before we start talking about what to expect during a CED on-site monitoring visit, we will need to mention key federal staff. Assigned to each grant are 2 federal staff that assist with the monitoring of your grant award. The Office of Community Services, or OCS, and the Office of Grants Management, or OGM, jointly support the CED grant. OCS and OGM have different areas of responsibility and expertise. However, the roles are distinct but complementary. The CED Program Specialist is assigned to OCS. They are responsible for the programmatic compliance with the applicable laws, regulations, policies, and procedures. The Grants Management Specialist is assigned to OGM and is responsible for the non-programmatic area for the grant award. They should be consulted on all financial and non-programmatic aspects of the grant. They are the official receipt point for the SF 425 and all prior approval areas under 45 Code of Regulations, Part 74 and 75. We will talk about CFR requirements later in the webinar. They are the official receipt point for the SF 425 and all prior approval areas under 45 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 74 and 75. We will talk about CFR requirements later in the webinar. The purpose of the on-site monitoring is to conduct a programmatic and financial review of the CED-funded project, to visually observe and corroborate the business where the jobs have been created in action, to compare a grantee's project to the performance timelines established and approved in the application and reported in the required performance progress reports, to interview board members, project partners, and low-income recipients of the jobs created with CED funds, and lastly, to identify and document successes, red flags, best practices, and technical assistance needs. During a site visit, the monitors will address 4 important questions regarding your CED-funded grant. As stated in the overview of CED funding opportunity announcement, one of the CED program's primary goals is to create jobs for individuals with low income. In your grant application, you outlined the number and type of full-time jobs you propose to create and the number of positions set aside to be filled by individuals who are either on temporary assistance for needy families or who have been identified as having income falling 125% below the HHS poverty guidelines. During the review process, we will request and review documentation confirming the creation of new positions, the quality benefits that accompany those positions, and the salaries being provided to the individual holding those positions. This information will be noted and documented in the monitor's report provided to OCS. Secondly, the monitors will look at how you use the CED funding award. We will also be looking at the non-CED funding that supports the project. This is information you report on the semi-annual PPRs. For example, was the grantee able to receive the additional funding that was identified in the application as critical to the successful implementation of the project? Third, we will be checking to ensure the financial and programmatic activities are in compliance with the proposed project and federal regulations. If the activities are not in compliance with the application, we will need to understand and document what happened. For example, was there an approved grant modification for the changes? Finally, we will be looking to determine which project goals and progress the grantee has achieved. Prior to the on-site visit, the monitor will conduct a programmatic and financial review of your grant. The pre-site visit work will allow the monitor to gain familiarity with your project and make effective use of everyone's time while on site. It is preferred that the monitor reads and reviews all of the requested documents before the site visit so they can have targeted conversations on site when they meet and interview board members, project partners, and tour the CED-funded projects. As a part of the programmatic review, we will review the grant award goals, objectives, and timelines identified in the application with an emphasis on the type of new full-time positions being created and the number of low-income individuals to be hired to fill those positions. They will read your grant application, review the performance progress reports, and review all of the notes and grant solutions. Just a reminder, Grant Solutions is the official electronic file for all grant documents. Every grantee should have access to their grant file folder in Grant Solutions. If you do not have access, please contact your grants management specialist and email help@grantsolutions.com immediately. The monitor will consult with your assigned CED program specialist regarding the progress of your grants, concerns, and questions to ask during the visit. The monitor will also conduct a financial review that focuses on the use of funds, grant budgets, including all non-CED funds supporting the project, and the overall financial management of the grantee and the businesses the grant is supporting. Lastly, the monitor will communicate with you, the grantee, prior to the visit to confirm logistics, request any needed documents, and to answer any questions or concerns you might have prior to the visit. The monitor will stress the requirement of keeping all documentation, requests, and supporting material up to date at Grant Solutions. There are several key monitoring documents that the monitor will review in advance of the visit and will be referring to during the course of the visit. First is the application that was funded. The second is compliance with 45 Code of Federal Regulations Part 75, the uniform administrative requirements and cost principles and audit requirements for HHS awards. Third is the notice of award. This is the legal contract between you and the federal government. Under item number 16 is the approved budget. Item number 17 provides the amount of both federal and non-federal funds that will support this grant. Item number 26 is the remarks section. It provides the terms and conditions of the grant award. And lastly, compliance with the terms and conditions that governs the grant. This determines which regulations and policies that this project must adhere to. Traditionally, CED site visits have been conducted in person and on-site. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, site visits have been conducted virtually. At this time, there is no indication when on-site visits will resume. However, the activities and requirements of the visit remains the same. During the visit, the monitor will conduct an observation of the project activities, which is very important. The monitor needs to observe and interview the businesses where the jobs have been created. The monitor will document their observations and provide pictures, when applicable, of the site and include them in the post-visit monitor's report that is prepared for OCS. The site visit also allows the monitor to compare the grant's actual activities with the activities proposed in the grant application. In addition, the monitor will conduct interviews with board members, project partners, and low-income participants that received the new jobs. The open dialogue makes it easier to understand actual performance, identify successes, potential red flags, and best practices in an effort to determine possible technical assistance needs. There are many considerations OCS takes into account when determining which grantees will receive an on-site monitoring visit. Please keep in mind the monitor does not select the grantee that is visited. OCS provides Vignetic with a list of grantees who have been selected for an on-site monitoring visit. Some of the considerations OCS uses for selection of grantees include the following. How many active CED grants does this organization hold? What was the date of the grantee's last on-site monitoring visit? Has the grantee ever received an on-site monitoring visit? What year of the grant life cycle is the grant in? For example, is this project in its first, second, or third year of the grant's life cycle? What are the performance results? For this, OCS may look at the project goals and determine whether the grant has reached appropriate business and job creation targets in relation to the year of the grant they are in. Or has the grantee met the goal of filling at least 75% of the positions created with low-income individuals? Is the grantee in compliance with reporting requirements? For example, has the grantee submitted required PPRs and SF 425 reports in a timely manner? This slide provides an overview of the steps that will be taking place prior to the on-site monitoring visit. It also highlights grantee responsibilities and the responsibilities of the Vignetic monitors. It is important to adhere to the pre-site visit timeline in order to have an effective and efficient site visit. If you determine that you are not able to adhere to the timelines, it is important to contact the monitor assigned to your project as soon as possible, explaining and documenting the reasons why. An efficiently planned site visit allows the monitor adequate time to engage in meetings and interviews with individuals who were identified in the grant application and who are integral to the project. The monitor needs to read documents in advance of the visit and not waste your time or their time reading documents during the visit. So let's review the schedule. We will talk about each of these steps a little more in the subsequent slides. You will receive a site visit notification letter from OCS at least 30 days prior to the scheduled visit. The letters are also posted to your official grant file in Grant Solutions. Grant Solutions provides an automatic notification to the grants assigned Grant Solution contact that the letter was posted for you to read. Please alert the Grant Support Team to read all email Grant Solutions notifications. In the notification letter, the grantee is asked to provide a number of documents no later than 20 calendar days from the date on the letter. Please contact the assigned monitor listed in the notification letter as soon as possible if you need more time. Your assigned monitor will conduct an initial pre-visit call in 10 to 15 days after the letter has been sent. The purpose of the call is to discuss the visit logistics and confirm the site visit dates. An additional call will take place about 10 days prior to the site visit to discuss the proposed agenda. The monitor will prepare a draft agenda but rely on the grantee to help finalize the agenda. This input is very important when determining the overall agenda, as it may include the amount of time needed to travel to and from the businesses and drive to various sites, as well as ensuring the availability of the individuals that will be interviewed during the site visit. Finally, it is the grantee's responsibility to ensure that everyone the monitor needs to talk to will be available at a specific date and time and schedule these meetings and interviews. In order to have a successful and informative site visit, I will once again review the grantee responsibility. The grantee is expected to participate in a call with the monitor 10 days after the receipt of the letter to answer questions. Submit all requested documents to the monitor 20 days after receipt of the site visit notification letter. Participate in a call 10 days before the visit to confirm the agenda. Prior to the visit, brief agency staff and partners about the purpose of and the agenda for the visit. As noted earlier, the notification letter will include a list of documents that need to be submitted prior to the monitoring visit, as well as some documents that need to be available on site. Keep in mind, some documents listed in the letter may not be applicable to your project. If a document on the list is not applicable to your project, discuss this with the monitor during the pre-visit call and indicate not applicable next to that item on the list when returning the relevant documents to the monitor. The documents listed on this slide and the next slide provide a snapshot of the financial strength of the organization and the CED-funded project. In addition to the documents listed, the monitor will also request unaudited year-to-date financials and project budget versus project's actuals information. One of the cornerstones of the CED grant is to create full-time jobs for individuals with low income that receive livable wages. Therefore, it is very important that grantees clearly document the jobs that were created as a result of the CED-funded project. This documentation should include the number of jobs, types of jobs, benefits, and livable wages. Proof of the employee's low-income status should also be documented. The monitor will request information on the banks where the OCS funds are maintained. If your project includes a loan or revolving loan fund, the monitor will review the loan portfolio as well as the grant's underwriting and loan servicing guidelines. The monitor will also request partnership agreements, memorandums of understanding, and loan agreements that clearly identify the individual, organization, and terms of any entity that has an interest in the CED-funded project. As noted earlier, additional documents may be requested to be made available during the site visit, such as a notice of federal interest on property. A copy of each NFI should be kept in the Grant Solutions file. If the additional documents do not apply, mark those items not applicable on the request list and let your assigned monitor know. This slide and the next slide summarize the documents you may be asked to provide on site during the visit. Be prepared to provide documentation on all procedures. The monitor will verify that your written procedures are being followed and that they are board approved. What are the procedures for reconciling fixed asset system to the general ledger? What are the procedures for any asset operated by the third party purchased with CED funding? What are the organization's written codes of conduct for employees engaged in the grant? What are the procurement procedures? The monitors will review the most recent board meeting minutes to gauge the board's level of engagement and oversight of the CED-funded project. A key indication of board engagement is evidence of the board's discussions about the CED grant or grants documented in the meeting minutes. It is important that the board is aware of the grant, use of grant funds, and any challenges with implementing the grant. Also, adequate insurance coverage must be in place on all assets that are funded by CED grant funds. Finally, the monitor will request signed, dated, and legally binding copies of beneficiary agreements, temporary assistance for needy families or TANF and child support agreements, partnership agreements, third-party agreements, and memorandums of understanding that were formed or created after the original grant application was submitted. Now we will talk a little bit about what to expect during the actual site visit. Job creation is an important component of the CED-funded project. The monitor will ask for and review documentation that offers proof of the actual jobs created. That documentation will be compared to the information provided in the grant's PPR. The monitor will review the use of the CED funds and compare the actual use with the proposed uses identified in the grant application. If the monitor did not find the fiscal or programmatic reports in the official grant file, they could ask for the most recent performance progress reports and financial status report, SF245, and review them for accuracy and completion. The monitor will also verify the amount and use of the leveraged dollars and in-kind services provided to the CED project. The budget that is submitted should include CED and non-CED funds. If the grantee had any line item transfers, the monitor will request documentation that was submitted to the program specialist for the budget changes and approval. If your project generates program income, the monitor will request documentation of the amount and corroborate the source of the program income. If a site visit is carried out in person and on site, the monitor will visit the project site and document the site with photographs. Additionally, if the grant application included the acquisition of equipment and/or real property, the monitor will document the property via photographs. The pictures document the project status. Both the pictures and interviews will be documented and noted in the post-site visit monitor's report. Keep in mind, the monitors are required to meet at least 10% of low-income individuals hired through the CED-funded grant. This means if your grant was awarded to create 40 jobs, the monitor should interview at least 4 recipients of those jobs across all the businesses involved in the project. The monitor should meet with at least 1 recipient from each business that received CED funding support. Please share all your completed project challenges with the monitor. Those challenges can include delays in project implementation resulting from financing, change in partners, organizational leadership, or other applicable reasons. The challenges need to be documented because when addressed, these challenges can provide an opportunity to learn and can be shared with other grantees who may be facing similar challenges. It is also an opportunity for OCS to provide additional guidance and TA support and help in finding ways to restructure the project to reach its goals. This slide summarizes the steps and timeline for the activities that take place after the site visit. We will talk about each of these. 20 days after the visit, the monitor will provide to OCS a detailed report summarizing the findings of the site visit. This is known as the post-visit monitoring findings report. The report includes a brief summary about the grantee, the abstract about the CED-funded project, an assessment of programmatic features, an assessment of the financial features, and lastly, recommendations and concerns about the project. The grantee will receive a follow-up feedback survey 20 days after the visit. This will provide recommendations for improvements to the site visit process and constructive comments regarding the overall visit performed by our contracting team. OCS will send a monitoring report 90 days after the visit. This report will identify any areas of non-compliance with federal regulations and policies. This slide provides some examples of common concerns that are identified during the site visits. Failure to file the notice of federal interest in property owned by the grantee. Inadequate financial accounting systems. Inadequate written program procedures. Inaccurate account of jobs created. Failure to create all full-time jobs for individuals with low income. Issues with financial accounting requirements. Inadequate written program procedures. The lack of drawdown and procurement procedures. Inaccurate accounting of jobs, and the failure to create permanent full-time jobs. It is critical that the grantees maintain open and timely communications with their CED program specialists, especially when the grantee is seeking changes in the project scope, budget, or use of funds which have a direct impact or change from the original application. Just as a reminder, this slide provides some best practices for ensuring a successful site visit. Providing all documents requested prior to the trip. Have all documents that need to be reviewed on-site ready and organized in advance for the monitor. Communicate with the monitor prior to the visit. Coordinate in advance the on-site schedule and ensure everyone is available at the scheduled time blocks. Confirm the dates and time of the tour of the CED-funded project. Ensure that board members or a representative are available to discuss the progress of the CED grant. One of the main items that monitors are looking for goes back to the fundamental use of CED funds. Does the use of funds match the project budget in the application? If not, was the use of the funds approved and is there documentation to support the change? To understand the overall objectives of the monitoring visits, you may also want to take another look at key questions listed on slide 5. There are 10 site visits scheduled for 2021. The visits will begin in late February and end by August 30th, 2021. If your organization is scheduled for a site visit, you will receive a site visit notification letter. On this slide, we have provided the contact information for the monitoring team. Please review the contact information and feel free to reach out to them with any questions or concerns. This slide has some helpful links from the OCS CED website where grantees may reference additional information. If after listening to this webinar you still have questions about how to prepare or what to expect during an on-site monitoring visit, please reach out to either the monitor list in your letter or your assigned CED program specialist. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you for joining us.